Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, this is a game that hasn't even been out a week, and it's still either going strong with the people that love it, or not going at all with people who didn't care much for maybe microtransactions, or the fact that you only have one autosave slot, or maybe just the fact that it's not their game entirely. Now, this game in of itself is a mixed bag, but in that mixed bag, there's a possibility for amazing things to happen, amazing experiences to be had. But at the same time, there's also room for a lot of buggy stuff that could happen, or a very, very convoluted, well, not even convoluted, just more of a lack of extra save slots that makes things quite irritable or unsavvy to handle, because you get into situations where you may be stuck, or you may need to reload, or you're just bugged out entirely or glitched out, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So this video, however, is about my Dragon's Dogma 2 experience and how I was able to navigate. So far, I have not finished the game. I am about midway through. However, I think I'm at the point in the game where I can give sort of a general feel of what this game has to offer. So here, sit back, enjoy, and let's jump into my experience with Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, right out the gate, this game does not hold your hand. I'm just going to get that out right now. It's not a game that you are going to feel as though it's intuitive to play. Well, it is to some certain respects, but we'll talk about that later. For the general gist of things, you're out there in a world where you just set out and you're going to explore. You might meet a couple NPCs, they're gonna give you a bunch of quests, but for the most part, you are the person finding what area of the map to go to. Now, you do have general waypoints, which will end up being AoE kind of circles that you have to explore to find what or who you're really looking for. But for the most part, you're kind of making your own adventure. Now, the road to each of the different objectives that you're supposed to accomplish in this game can be very treacherous, even more so at night. So you have to be careful how you set out. You have to plan ahead with, your certain camping gear, if you have enough food, if you have enough healing supplies, and that part can be really, really awesome when it comes together. You have a pawn as well that can help you carry stuff and also aid you in combat and battle. In my playthrough here, you can see I have my pawn Zaratoya. She's an archer right now, currently because they go by ranks. She is currently a rank 7 archer. The goal is to get her to rank 9, which is the highest rank a vocation can be, and feel free to add her to your playthrough whenever you're playing Dragon's Dogma 2. I try to get as far in as possible in the game, so she would be very much willing to help new players coming into the game. But yeah, initial thoughts on the game: it's great to play, it feels good, but we're gonna dive a little bit more into the nuances of it and some parts where people might struggle with in a moment. Okay, so now I can get him in the butt again, that little slice. I gotta put the sword in the butt. That's how we're gonna win this. Sword in the butt. Ow. Okay, well, my head in the butt also works. Now, in terms of the design of this game, this is where things get a little bit hit or miss depending on who's playing. For me personally, it was amazing. We had situations where we would have to reach a certain point of the map later on, possibly at night, because some quests are locked by time of day. So some quests you can go in when it's only nighttime, or some you can go in only during the day, and that adds a certain variety to what you can do as the game progresses. I had situations where I can't really activate an objective until nighttime, so I'm like, hey, instead of maybe wasting a bunch of gold trying to rest at an inn, let's go out exploring for a bit, and maybe we'll come across some new quests that'll keep us busy until the nighttime. Now, this works amazing. And it's fantastic when the game comes together like this, because it makes the world feel lived in. It makes it feel breathable. But then you have moments where you do certain quests where you have to go to a masquerade, for instance, the famous masquerade mission that I'm sure a lot of people have talked about, where you walk in and it's the dead of the night. Now, there is some sort of hidden nuance to it, hidden door, if you will, for those who know already. But before that, you kind of feel dull. Like the world in that moment, in that room, feels dull. There's no music playing. There's just a bunch of NPCs and masquerades walking around. But other than that, it was great. You do have certain situations as well out in the open world where you come across giant monsters, ogres, griffins, dragons even. I came across a dragon once in my playthrough, and that was a dragon in Melv, and was able to take that down. It was an amazing experience. So as far as the design of the game goes, that part works fantastic. Now, here's the crux of it, which is the save slots. You only get one save slot in Dragon's Dogma 2. You can override it, and there is an autosave as well that overrides it every, I believe, every 15 to 20 minutes. I could be wrong on that, don't quote me on it. But it's one of those situations where that's a very, very peculiar and unique decision why one save slot would be essential. Now, I do get it from the standpoint of you want players to get engaged in the world and have situations where they're more in tune and live in the world, but it also feels kind of like a forced RPG gimmick or a forced RPG state to put players in. Some players wouldn't like that, and that might be something that turns them off from this game. I already know I have a few friends who are not fans of the one save slot. For me specifically, I don't mind it too much, but that's only a personal preference. That's not by any means the preference that everyone else has, and that should be taken into account as well. Overall, is the game design still worth the price of admission? Personally, I think it is. It's something different, and in a world saturated by Ubisoft and other open world games that kind of run by the mill, Horizon Forbidden West series is kind of notorious for that too, even though, again, fantastic games. I do love Aloy as a character, but this is a different kind of open world. It's an open world that invites you to explore, invites you to walk in. You have your pawns that keep you company on your journeys. And more or less, even without the game's story, you're still creating your own. And that's what we're going to jump into next. The story, so far, at least for me, while I'm playing.
Lord save our best will do.
Nice! Hell yeah! Trip him up, fall again, boom! Yeah, let's go! Nice. That's how it's done. Hell yeah. Now, the story in of itself is not anything revolutionary. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not insanely, mind-blowing. It's not on the level of, say, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, even though I know that's definitely controversial right now. And I will get into that review, hopefully, at some point in the future. But essentially, the story is a more linear kind of format in the sense that you do have your main story quests, which you gather from Captain Brandt in Act 1. You keep going forward with that. I'm not going to jump into too many specifics once you get into mid-game, which is where I am right now, but overall the story is serviceable. I've already found about 1 or 2 likable characters even that are part of it, and that's saying something, seeing as they only get maybe about 5-6 minutes worth of screen time. But even in those 5 to 6 minutes that I've seen them, they were compelling, and I wanted to learn more about them. You have this unique mechanic in the game where you can give gifts to NPCs. I haven't explored that too much yet. Those of you who do know, please say so in the comments to let me know how that mechanic works. I'm all ears on that. But generally speaking, it's great, and it's a story that is interwoven with the simplicity of the explorative factor that comes into the game. So generally speaking, you're having a good time regardless. You're making your own story within the story that's existing for the game itself. Also, as the Arisen, you're gonna, eventually have to slay a dragon at some point, which that's where all of Dragon's Dogma leads into. But it isn't in what happens at the end of the story, it's in how it leads up to the end, which I think that's a very, very beautiful way to craft a story. So it's a story where you have boundless freedom to create your own. You can choose different vocations. You can choose how you wish to approach certain objectives, including the MSQ ones as well that don't leave you locked into finding a secret door. Please fix that one. But generally speaking, you're having a good time. Now, as far as the bigger controversy regarding the game, which is its microtransactions, I'm not really going to dive too much into that because of the nature of the subject. Now, for me personally, I'm coming from a background where in the past I was an NBA 2K player, and that game was so riddled microtransactions that I had to call it quits and just be like, hey, this is not healthy for me. So that's something that individually you're gonna have to decide for yourself. However, microtransactions are with their qualms, and it's not something that can be easily addressed by just simply complaining about it in a general experience review or whatever of the game. But in my playthrough specifically, I've never really honestly used any microtransactions. I don't feel the need to, because you're still getting the price of admission with the game without the microtransactions. I don't even know what those give. That's how deeply I've gone into that. So you can play the game and definitely ignore the microtransactions. It's not something that is necessary to play the game. It's not a Take-Two interactive spin on it where you're just you have to buy with real money to progress your story or anything like that. It's not Skull and Bones. It's not any of that. You can play through the game without any microtransactions. Now, whether or not you are irked by the fact that there are microtransactions in the game, that is totally fair and very valid. And if that's your reason for not wanting to get it, very understandable. You vote with your wallet. So overall, I will say if you are lucky enough to get Dragon's Dogma 2, maybe get it on a sale if you don't want to spend money on microtransactions. But if you are lucky enough to get it, it's an amazing experience, and it's something that I think if not everyone, but for most gamers who want a little bit of a change in the general structure of their AAA gaming, it's a nice little additional game to your library to really experience and get involved in the world. From Vernsworth to Batal to even the smaller villages like Melv and Harv, there's unique nuances in each and every little pocket of the Dragon's Dogma 2 world, and so far I'm really enjoying it. Now, in closing out this video, because I don't want it to last too long, Dragon's Dogma is definitely worth the price of admission, and here on the Buffalo's Wild single player channel, I try to rate my gaming experience on the mild to sizzling hot, and I will say Dragon's Dogma 2 is actually full of sizzle. It's got the sizzle. So heavily recommend. Check it out if you're thinking about it. If you think you can wait on it too, that totally works fine. Do that as well. But overall, it's an experience that I think most people who are really in love with video games should experience, and then see for yourself if this is a game that you can grow to love or be passionate about, or if it's a game that you hate because there's only one save slot, and that is totally fair too, because not everyone's gonna like everything. But please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I stream on Twitch every other week, and I'll be continuing to play some more Dragon's Dogma as well, so please pop by I can't speak, but please pop by, and we'll be here ready to welcome you, and we'll see you next time on the next game I review, which I'm not sure what that'll be yet, but we'll see you soon on Buffalo's Wild single player games. Goodbye. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Hit in his hip. Okay, he might fall. He's gonna fall. Hell yeah, let's go. Thank you. Get him. Get him. Get his head. Can I jump? Thank you. Nice. Let's go. That was cool. That was cool. That was epic.